Welcome everybody, here's the second video of the property series and it's going to be on upfront costs versus ongoing costs. Now this is a really important issue when it comes to the property investment journey because when you first want to search for that property, you need to know how much it's going to cost to get into this property, then how much is it going to cost to maintain, or can I even maintain this property? So what you need to be able to do is be able to do your numbers and make sure that this investment is suitable for you. So what we want to do, again, I'm going to do another case study, another example. Obviously figures can change if you really find a really great deal, but let's just go off these basic figures so everyone's got a rule of thumb of what it's really going to cost to get into property. All right, let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to purchase a property for $550,000. Now the first upfront cost we have is the deposit. That's always everyone's biggest question, the deposit. So a deposit can range between 5 and 20%. At 5%, you're looking at probably the first home buyers, we've got the first home buyer scheme, and the government match for us to 15. But for everyone else, any deposit under 20%, what's going to happen is going to trigger LMI insurance. So what's LMI? LMI is an insurance the bank takes to protect themselves. So if anyone defaults on their loan, that they are protected. So what's my rule of thumb when it comes to LMI? If the property grows greater than the time it takes to save, you should do LMI insurance. Because the property's going to do all the heavy lifting for you. Why waste the time saving up that extra 10, 15 grand to avoid LMI insurance if the property's already going to move for you? It just doesn't make sense. So LMI can be put into a loan. Some banks allow it to be put onto the top of your mortgage. Some says upfront cost. What we're going to assume in this situation is that it can go within your mortgage. So that's done. So we're going to go at a 10% deposit. So we will be paying LMI at some point. So we've got that $55,000. The next upfront cost we're going to talk about is stamp duty. Now, stamp duty is a state tax, which is taxed when you purchase a property. It's one of their most important taxes as it's income for them to be able to spend on all different projects across the state. So, what we want to know is who's eligible and how does it work. So what happens is that it's all about the intention of the buyer. So if it's your principal place of residence, you get a concession. If you're a first home buyer, you get hopefully an exemption. But if you're an investor, you are taxed at the highest rate. So let's figure out how they sort of coordinate calculating stamp duty. So from $75,000 to $540,000, you'll pay a minimum of $1,075. Plus every single cent after the $75,000, you pay $3.50 on every $100 after that. So that can increase very quickly. Second, so if it's over $540,000, you'll pay a minimum of, it's roughly $17,000, and you pay $4.50 every $100 after that $540,000. Yes, I know. And then if you purchase something over $1 million, you'll pay roughly $38,000 in stamp duty, plus $5.75 in every $100 after that. So yes, it really equates quickly. So for this example, what we're going to do, we're going to make it a primary residence. So at the time of buy, we wanted to move in, and yes, you have to move into the property legally within that first year for 6 months. But then after that, you can switch it to an investment, so it's fine whatsoever. So on a primary residence at $550,000, the stamp duty figure is $12,000 roughly. All right, so what's the next upfront cost? Legal costs. So that's when you hire the conveyancer to do all the legal work for you. So that's making sure the contract's correct, making sure that the title and property searches are done, and making sure that both parties are reaching their deadlines. Typically to buy, it's anywhere between the $700 mark all the way up to $1,200 depending on who you get. So we're going to put it down here at $800. So the next thing we want to talk about is the building and pest. Now I always recommend this to all my clients. You have to get a building and pest done. Structurally, you need to make sure that the property is in A grade shape. Even if it's in B grade, you may be able to get away with that, but you just do not want structural issues whatsoever. And any pest infestation you just don't want. So we've got to make sure that you're hiring a qualified building and pest inspector to make sure that's done. So a rough cost for that is around $350. Now the next one, lucky me, a buyer's agent. So a buyer's agent, I feel, I might be a bit biased, but it's a crucial part of you buying a quality asset. They have the skills and knowledge of research to be able to get you an outperforming property, and that's really what you want. So with my services, I range anywhere from $700 all the way up to $3,500. Now that's quite cheap compared to others, but it's just compared on your experience level and the amount of involvement you have. The involvement is the key with a buyer's agent. Do you want a little involvement or do you want the whole package, whole process start to finish? So that's where the costs really change. So for this, let's put it right in the middle at $2,000 as a buyer's agent's cost. All right, and then the last cost, what we're going to do is we're going to put in the mortgage application fee. Now, this one is just a fee that you have to pay when you start up your mortgage to get that really good package. When you want a really good package, like that low 2% mark, sometimes there'll be an upfront cost of $350 to start it off. So let's put that in there as well. So for this property example we have right here, the grand total of all your upfront costs are going to be $70,500. So not a bad result here. So for this property here, the grand total is going to be $70,500. Now, like you saw, if you want to go back and watch the previous video, this can be in equity or it can be a cash deposit, either way. But this is what you'll need up front to be able to buy a property at $550,000. So what we want to do now is move on to our ongoing costs. Now this is another really important step because you want to know how does your cash flow position work, how is this going to affect your life by buying this property right here. So let's get started, right? So first cost, which is actually revenue in this particular example, because what we're going to do is compare the home, if you bought it as a home or if you bought it as an investment property, because there's two really different factors and it changes your cash flow massively depending on how you buy this. So let's go income, also known as rent. All right, for this property, we're going to do the example, and it's going to be at $550. So as an investment property, $550. As the home, nothing. All right, so the next cost we're going to talk is the most key cost, is the mortgage. So what I want to do now is give you two examples. One of a principal place residence and one as an investment property. So the principal place residence, how I do this is a P&I loan, principal and interest, so $495,000, since we had the 10% deposit, plus 10,000 LMI, and then that will going to be at 2% interest. Let's make it 2.2 over 30 years. So let's explain how that works. So what's going to happen is principal and interest, every time a repayment gets taken out, a little bit will be chunked away at that $505,000 that we've got there. It's going to be slowly being taken away, rather than an interest-only loan which I would have as an investment property, where it's literally just taking interest and the principal, that first initial loan, will just stay the same. All right. So with this one here, it is going to be $445 per week. Where this one here would be an interest-only loan at $505,000 at 3.1% over 30 years. And that equals $303 per week. So you can see the difference already. So that's like $140 basically a week that you're saving just doing interest only, but you're not chunking away that principal amount. So as a home, it's going to cost you $445, and as an investment, it's going to cost you $303. So the next one I want to talk about is your council fees. So that's going to be your rates. Every home gets rates every year, so that's what we're going to be paying. So the average cost on rates typically is around $2,800. We're just going to do a rough market. It changes between every council you have. So $2,800 is going to be $53 a week, and that doesn't change if it's an investment or if it is your home. It's just going to be a set cost each time. The next one I want to talk about is insurance. So insurance can be house and contents insurance, or also what we like to do if you get investment properties, landlord insurance is really important. You want to make sure that your rent's covered and your property stays in good condition. So as the principal place rent, it's going to be $31. But as an investment property, that's obviously going to increase. You have the landlord insurance on top of that. So what we're going to do is that's going to be at $70. All right, the next one is property management. Obviously, I am biased, but again, you need them. You need them. Why take the stress? Why always have to check if your bank, if they've paid rent on time, if there's repairs, complaints, switching tenants, all that jazz? Why do you want to be having that responsibility, just taking time out of your everyday life where you can sit back, relax, and make it all happen for us? That's something we provide. So roughly, it's about 7% for most agents around, and obviously this cost is only going to be the investment property side, so that's going to be $38.50. All right, the next charge we've got is the utilities. So utilities, you're talking your electricity, you're talking your water, your two biggies. So let's get that down there. So utilities, that's only going to be a cost for the homeowner, because if you have tenants and your investment property, who's paying for your electricity and water? The tenant. So this is going to be great. So what we're going to do here is going to be $57 a week is what we've allowed for, which is going to be on the average of a $450 per quarter electricity bill and a $300 per quarter water bill. So the next one we've got is your maintenance. Now your maintenance, again, people think, oh yeah, you can't buy an investment property just because it's going to be so much maintenance cost, blah, blah, blah. But in your home, you need just as much maintenance. You still need to mow your lawn. You still need to, if the kids have knocked a hole in the wall, that's still going to be a cost. So what we like to allow is 5% of the rent, regardless of the situation. So let's just put down there at 5%. So that's going to be $27.50. per week. So we like to do this per week. It just gives you a much easier figure than doing monthly, yearly, and figures get too big for everyone. So the last cost we've got, the second last cost we've got there is accounting fees. So as your principal place residence, there shouldn't be any fees sort of attached to your principal place residence because it's not an income generator, where if you have the invest property it is. So your tax accountant each end of financial year will be doing a return for you. I'd recommend having a depreciation schedule in there because that could take off some of this cost it's got. But it's about $550 a year is what I'll be paying for accounting fees. But that's obviously the more properties you have, the more that it equates. That's probably per property, so you're just going to keep that in mind. So we've got $10.50 per week is what's going to be in this one. All right, and our last one here is a cost that really burdens people, and really, if you don't do your research, it can really be a cost exercise, which is strata fees. So that's when body corporates are in unit complexes, and all owners within the body corporate have to pay a strata fee that helps the maintaining of all the outsides of the building and all the legal costs to keep that complex running efficiently. So that can be really costly. So that can be from $400 a quarter all the way up to $1,000 a quarter. So that can just eat away at your cash flow. So if you're sitting up here at $900, that's like $70 a week. That's going to be taking out of this equation here, and it can be really costly on that back pocket if you go down that line. But don't get me wrong, you can still make it work. It can still work. But in this example here, we're just going to leave out strata fees and pretend it's an established house here and not one of those units that we have. So the grand total of what we're going to see is going to be a big difference here. So to own a home is going to cost negative $614.50. And now if you want to have the investment property, it's going to be plus $47.50. So you can see the difference there. It's a big dramatic difference. So this is when I say when you're going into buying that principal place residence, make sure you understand what it's going to do to your cash flow. So it's going to take away your borrowing capacity. I understand rents could be around that similar price anyway, so it might be advantageous just to lock in paying off your own home rather than someone else's. But what you've got to understand is that if you can keep your expenses low and you're putting investment properties into your portfolio, you're increasing your borrowing power, you're getting more money in a week, and you've got a neutral asset that just sits there. It sits there, it pays itself off comfortably, as you can tell, and then you're going increasing in value with the equity as well that we talked about with that last lesson. So if you combine the equity uplift and you combine that with really nice cash flow that can pay off that investment, what else do you want in property? That is just a great situation that you can just keep moving forward and just recycle that equity through, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I'd really like to thank you for watching this video. Like I said in this example, but an example that can really affect you to get your mind around what you should be looking at when buying an investment property. Have a lovely day, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you.